Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had so many questions. How do I record an episode? Where do I find background music? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? Where do I find advertisers? The answer to every one of those questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and 100% ridiculously easy to use. Let me tell y'all. Everybody keeps asking me, what do I do to podcast? I'm telling you, the answer is Anchor. They created my RSS feed. They gave me my first 2 sponsors that you're now hearing on this podcast. I want you to know that I believe in Anchor. I've grown with this platform since February, and I'm going to continuously grow with this platform. So if you always wanted to start a podcast, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
This race, I'm feeling exposed, but I can't hide no more. I can't hide as the sun shines on all of my glory. My flaws don't look so bad at all. What was I so afraid of? Every part of me is a vision.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 25th episode on the Walk by Faith Show. Right now, I challenge each of you to stop, subscribe, and rate this podcast so that I can continue bringing you great content that is valuable so that it comes to your device week after week. Again, you guys, in order for me to continue doing it, I really want to put myself out there, and I need your help. So rate and subscribe this podcast. Okay, are you waiting? Because I really need you to rate and subscribe. Okay, thank you all. So today's entrepreneur is a fashionista from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Whenever you see her on Instagram, she is always rocking clothes that she has put on herself. And what do I mean by that? I mean she's hand sewn them, she's designed them. Even on her wedding day, she created her gown herself. And I thought that that was the most beautiful thing that I have ever seen. I started really paying attention to her grind last year when she had a pop-up shop in New York City. And that's around the time that I officially moved here so that I could start working. And she has her very own luxury clothing design. Okay, guys, I'm ready to spill the tea. Today's guest is none other than Kalisha Price. And how are you doing today, Kalisha?
Hi, Jasmine. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain. So I always like to ask my guests, what is 3 things that you would like to change about the world?
I would have to say, number 1, I would say negative comparisons and competition. I feel like with the rise of social media and everybody's access to this picture perfect life that we scroll and we see, we forget to focus on how interesting and great we are ourselves. Like, I feel like it brings us further and further away from our picture perfect life and who God has called us to be, because truth be told, it only looks perfect on the outside, so we scroll and we're like, oh my God, I wish I had her ass. I wish I had this life. She booed up. I'm not, I feel like when we lose focus of that and we start comparing ourselves to other women, we lose sight, of what's really important and the things that we have. And none of us really have it all together. And I would say, I guess, number 2, the educational system. When I was coming up in school, I didn't even really know that fashion was a real thing or a career because we focused so much on the mainstream, like law, engineering, medicine, that I wish like these other futures in art and literature and poetry, was encouraged, and that we not only teach us just to go to school to get a job, and that we find out how to start our own businesses and bring our visions to life. And also financial literacy is so many things that I wish I would have learned before learning the hard way. You know, once we improve our education, we can improve the community around us. And number 3, and this is me preaching to the choir, I would say the desire to be perfect and the fear of failing. I can't stress this enough of how much this holds people back from actually like living our best life, you know, because we see a perfect life, how it's portrayed on Instagram or social media rather, and then we see only what people choose to show us. And it's like we start to compare our careers and we compare our lives, and we'll never start if we keep being afraid to actually fail, because we can't fail if we don't start. So I just would like to remove that stigma of like, we have to be perfect and everything has to go great and there won't be any hurdles and bumps and bruises, because it is keeping us from our true calling, our true purpose.
Thank you, Kalisha, on that perspective. Now, I want to journey into your undergrad and what you do. I just need you to just boast about yourself. Take this time and just let everybody know exactly what you're doing, how you got started through undergrad, and how that evolved into grad school and where you are now.
I went to undergrad. I actually did 1 year at the University of North Texas here in Denton. And I just didn't really connect with the school, but I went in for fashion merchandising, and then I ended up transferring back home to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and finished there with my fashion merchandising degree. And it was my senior year undergrad. It was my first time sewing. I took a sewing class as an elective, like for kicks and giggles, like, why not? Never tried it before. And my teacher and my advisor saw how fast I was picking up the skill, and they were like, I really feel like you're on the wrong side of fashion here. And I was like, no, I don't know how to draw. This is my first time sewing, you know. But then when I graduated and I moved to Texas, I started working in the industry as an assistant sales rep, working on the finished side of garments. But when I found myself changing clothes in my head every market when buyers would come, like that was like the excitement of my career at that time. Only when I get to sit in front of people and describe the details in the clothes and how I would wear the clothes, and if this was this, or you can, wear it this way. I just always had a creative mind, but didn't think that I actually could make a career out of it. Like I said, the educational system didn't really focus on the art and things in the creative field. So once I sat down with my manager, she was like, I think you really should consider it. I really was surrounded by great people who supported me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to school for design. Like maybe I can be taught this trade just a little bit more than my last year of undergrad. So I applied to some schools in Dallas, and then she was like, oh, I really feel like you need to go where fashion is. But I had never went that far before from my family. I'm super family oriented. So New York was like not even an option to me. But I was like, you know what? Thinking small-minded, I was like, well, I'm probably never going to get in being a girl from Arkansas. They're not going to even probably recognize my school because Pine Bluff is so small, but why not apply? It can't hurt. So I ended up applying to Parsons, the new school of design, and I got in, and I got scholarships. So I was like, okay, guys, I can't. It was like a no-brainer at that point. So I just had to pack up and prepare for the next semester, and I moved to New York City, where dreams are made, and I just really felt like I was at home. I was like, oh, my God, why have I never really just took a leap before, So I started school there, and I interned in several places. I worked with a startup, and then I worked with a larger corporation, Zach Cozen, and then I just wanted to get my hands on both sides, seeing a company from the ground up and then working with a larger company, because I knew I wanted to start something of my own one day. So I just kind of wanted to get my hands wet on both sides of the business. So once I graduated, I ended up doing a couple little odd jobs, sewing here and there. I was even sewing aprons, it's just random little facts, but I was working full-time. I ended up getting that dream job, so I thought. I was working full-time for a menswear company, and I was clocking in, literally clocking out, but I was getting my coins, so I didn't really care about the day in, day out, and I wasn't even really thinking about my purpose because I was thinking about, how you're like unconsciously trained, like, okay, I graduated. Now I need to get a job. So that's what I did. I had a job. I called my family. I was like super, super excited. Worked there for like a couple of months and then boom, got laid off. They brought in a new creative director. It kind of shook up the whole platform and I was let go. And at that point, I literally was like at rock bottom. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to call my family. So I was like, okay, I got to do something. I have a skill. I may not have all the business training, but I'm going to start my own company. So I was dating now my husband, but I was dating him at the time, and his background is advertising marketing. So it was just like a really good marriage at the time for us. Well, not marriage per se, but, it was a good thing that we came together at the time that we did. So we started building this brand, and I ended up launching in New York of 2016 in April, 2 years ago, and it was really received well by the public. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm on to something. I'm doing something right. Even strangers showed up to my show. It wasn't just family and friends. So I did that, and then I went to LA, and I did a show in LA, and then I went to Paris, and I did a show in Paris, and, I was realizing that these shows weren't really converting into sales, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But, so yeah, that's how I got to where I am now. And after I got married, we relocated to Dallas. So now I'm trying to explore this whole Dallas scene, this whole fashion scene in Dallas. So I'm still trying to get my feet wet in the industry here. So that's where I am today.
Okay. And I hope that after this episode, we're able to connect you to even more Dallas fashion designers and people that just want you to design their clothes. And anybody out there, this is to promote Kalisha and all the things that she's doing. So if you got something that you want to be designed, y'all better call Kalisha up. Don't be out here just listening and not supporting her business. Do y'all hear me? Hello? So right now, it's our time to really educate the listeners. I want them to walk away with as much value as possible, and that means educating them on the fashion industry. And Kalisha, we like to say, oh, well, I haven't done it or forever, I'm not an expert. But to be honest, any experience that you gain is well worth, talking about and giving to someone else so that they can learn more about it too. So I really want to know, let's break down what a collection is, what a capsule collection is, what a bigger collection is. Just what is the fashion world's terminology and what does it mean to have a clothing line? Because at Prairie View, at UAPB and these HBCUs, everybody got a clothing line and a fashion line. But what does it really mean to take it a little step further where you're actually creating collections?
So you said, what is a collection? I mean, it's like an array of garments. Well, you can have two different types. A capsule collection is from anywhere from 4 to 6 to 10 pieces. It's a smaller, tight-knit collection. And then you have the full collections, which can range from 15 to 30, sometimes 50, depending on how big the designer is. This is garments I'm talking about. And I don't know, I feel like the difference where you see and this is no shade, but it's the difference between having a wholesale boutique versus designing your clothes. Nothing's wrong with either, but it's just a little bit more manpower, brain power, creative team that goes behind trying to start something from scratch, from paper, from sketching. Versus buying wholesale from a vendor who already have made garments. You just buy wholesale and then you put it on your website or you put it in your store versus me having to go out and source fabrics and source trims. And trims are like notions, buttons, zippers, things of that nature. And sitting with the team and trying to convey and hoping that they get your sketch and, trying to build something from the ground up. So yeah, I don't know if that really answers your question, but that's kind of the back end of the two different worlds versus a fashion company and an online boutique, wholesale.
Okay, and so you have a luxury brand. So what's the difference between a luxury brand and like Forever 21 and, just your fast casual clothing? What's the difference between the two?
Price point, price point, price point. That's where a lot of luxury designers struggle because fast fashion has really just taken over the market, which is the H&Ms and the Zaras and the Forever 21s who can produce a mass of garments for low cost to where they have more affordable pricing compared to a luxury brand who price points have to be a little bit higher because you're pulling higher quality fabric and it takes, it's the different finishings, it's like luxury finishings versus like using a serger or, it's like a lot that goes into it, when you're like a larger mass market brand versus a startup luxury brand.
Okay, and what are some of the fashion line themes that you've had in Kalisha? What are some of the brands and the lines that you created?
Yes, I've done 3 collections. My first one was no tux, like tuxedo given, the play on words. And that was my launching collection. This is when I first moved. I was like living in New York and I was just like, okay, I'm going to stop living my life for other people. I'm going to stop caring what people thought. And I'm just going to live life out loud, live the way that God created me to be and who he created me to be and look the way that I'm supposed to look, and just loving the skin that I'm in. And then I did Versus, which was my boxing collection. And I designed all my collections. Let me rewind a little bit. I designed all my collections from an emotional standpoint. So I think about what message do I want to get out to the world, and then I create a collection. So my Versus, going to my second collection, my Versus collection was a boxing collection, boxing inspired collection. This was talking about that battle within, like what do we fight daily within ourselves and with society, so I did a collection with the play on physical boxing, physical fighting with our internal. And then I did, I Am a Masterpiece collection. This is a collection I showed in Paris where I was watching Black Girls Rock and I heard Jasmine Sullivan's song for the first time, Masterpiece, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to do something based around us being beautiful art as we are. I feel like, sometimes women are treated a certain way or, we just need to learn how to appreciate the woman. So I did Masterpiece collection and I'm working on some other things, but those are the 3 that you can find on my website.
So, Kalisha, can you tell us about your design process and what it means for you to go from an ideal in your head to a piece of clothing that you sell as a product? Now, I know everything is different, but just talk to us about your design process.
Yeah, true. Everybody's design process is different. For me, like I said, I do pull inspiration from the message and from an emotional standpoint, the message that I want to get out to women and young girls out there. So I think about the things that I may have struggled with or I may have seen people around me struggle with low self-esteem. I'm in a different place now, but I grew up with that, looking a certain way. So I go deep. I dig deep. I listen to people and I pull inspiration. I may be in a bar or I may be at church and I hear certain things or people talk about certain things that they deal with. And I'm like, I want to pull a collection together and then do a promo video to talk about what it is that I want the world to see. So I start from there and then I pull elements from whatever. Let's just use No Tux Given as an example. This is around the time Janelle Monáe was marching for all the police brutality, and she was like living out loud. She didn't care about anything, and she was there on the front line, and I was just like, oh my God, I love her. I love her tenacity and her bravery, and she wears tuxedos, and I was like, I want to do a tuxedo inspired collection, to pay homage to Janelle Monáe. So from there, I pulled details from the classic male tuxedo. and I feminized it, and I brought it into a space where it gave women strength. Like when you see a man in a tuxedo, you get strength from him. So I was like, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do a flip on this and, be this whole women empowerment brand. And so I pulled details like the bow tie, and I started with a lot of sketches. I have an issue with over sketching, but that's not really an issue, I guess. And then I have to edit, and then I have to go out and source fabric, and then I have to make sure that the fabric that I fell in love with actually works for those silhouettes that I've sketched. And then that's when you go into the cut and sew. So that's pretty much my process.
Okay. What are some of the pressures and experiences that you have had as a Black woman in the fashion industry?
Ooh, that's a good one. I feel like because I was a Black woman trying to break into the luxury sector of fashion, I put so much pressure on myself. Not even from the outside world, but I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to come correct. Put a lot of pressure on myself. And so did the world, I guess, in a sense, because I would go places and people would, ask me about my brand, and I would say, oh, it's Kalisha. And some people are like, oh, what you do, streetwear? Like I would get so many different types of responses based off of how I looked and what my brand name was. And sometimes what my government name is, Kalisha, it's not, it's very cultural, shall I say. And it's just like, you want to be at a level to where people take you seriously. So I spent a lot of money in production and in fabric and in my videos and in shoot, like trying to compare, in a sense, because I wanted people to take my brand seriously. I wanted to, to look at me and like, oh, how long have you been in business? When you have to ask. So, yeah, it's a constant battle because there's not a lot of us out there doing what we do. So I just, trying to hold it down for the sisters in the industry, and represent us well.
And I have a bonus question with that. Like, who are some of your inspirations? Because we know that there are not that many Black women, killing it in the fashion game. So who are some of the inspirations that you see that you can just model after, or just they can be a mentor for you so that other people can, just follow them as well? Like, who are some people that inspires you?
Well, when I before I even launched and started this whole thing, I was obsessed with Vera Wang. I know she does not look like me, but I thought that I was going to be a bridal designer. Like, that was like what I thought I wanted to do. But as I started to, get deeper into the industry, like so many people inspired me. It's the smallest things. It's some of my classmates, but Tracy Reese, she's been doing this. She's in the game. She's been in the game for a long time. She looks like me too. So she's another one. I mean, even people on my team. I'm inspired by so many people, and it's sad that I can't list a whole slew of us because it's not that many of us. And I'm actually fans of people off Project Runway, that look like me. The Portos, she's from Little Rock. The Sunjay, I love her. Samantha Black, love her. You can find these people on Instagram. They were some of the few that, made it far on Project Runway. So yeah, they were some of my inspirations too.
Okay. So my next question is, what type of advice do you have for people who want to launch their very own fashion line or their next luxury brand, or they just want to start a collection or just do a couple of pieces to sell in the marketplace? What advice do you have for them?
Don't think about being perfect. Just start. And when you do start small, because I made the mistake of, I don't want to say mistake because I've learned so much and it took me a long time to actually say, like, stop blaming yourself. It was all a lesson learned. But I would say start small. Do a capsule collection. Test the market, which is something that I didn't do. I just designed off of what I felt. Test the market, start small, find your niche, whether you want to be a gown designer or you want to be in the luxury market, contemporary, advanced contemporary. Find what you are good at and perfect that thing. Because I was in a seminar this weekend, I learned that you can't be all things to all people, or you'll be nobody to nobody. You'll be nothing to nobody.
Woo!
You know?
Wait, say that one more time. Say that one more time to people, because they didn't hear you, Kalisha. Are y'all listening? Because she just dropped the nugget.
You can't be all things to all people, or you'll be nothing to nobody. And that's where I'm sitting back. That was so profound to me. I'm sitting back and I'm like, you know what? That was, I needed to hear that. Like, that was right on time for me, you know, and I'm scaling back and I'm re-strategizing, you know, to where Kalisha is going to kind of make some shifts. You know, it's a learning process. You learn something new every single day. You never stop. You know, you just make those corrections and, you know, just keep going forward. Whatever you do, don't stop. You know, so I would say, yeah, those little nuggets there. Start small, find your niche, and don't try to be all things to all people. Do you and do you best, and let God's time and take over.
Okay. And I think all of us, you know, when you started saying you got married, you worked with your husband, I think all of us are just waited to understand what it was like to work with your husband as he did the marketing and you did the designing and the producing. What was it like, you know, balancing that and then getting married and now you're in Dallas? Just talk to us about what it's like, because, girl, we all want to know.
In the beginning, it was super cute. I'm like, oh, this is boo. We work together. We, you know, all of this. But then it's like, you know, you bump heads. It's business, you know, and it's so hard to try to separate business and personal when you're working with somebody that close to you. So we have to sometimes, like, okay, we're not doing business tonight. We're going to actually, like, just go out, go to a movie. You know, we have to kind of, like, schedule out our time, because we will sit and talk business, because he's a creative too. We'll just strategize and we'll just talk and have ideas, which is great, you know, but then there's times when it's like we're on set and, you know, I may feel a certain way about the way my garment is looking, or the way I don't like the way this photo looks, and I can't explain it because I'm new, you know, but this is his world and his language. So, you know, you kind of bump heads a little bit, but at the end of the day, as long as you get that job done, you keep the line of communication open, you should be fine. You know, for a long time, I would just hold my feelings in. I'm like, you know what? I don't even feel like arguing today because I'm tired from talking about business all day. And then, you know, then now I'm segueing into being a wife, you know, which is a whole different world. Like, nobody can really prepare you to be a wife, you know, until you just thrown in it. And that's a whole nother, you know, aspect of making sure when he's home, things are good. And then it's like I struggle with the balance of when is a good time, because I know he's juggling a lot, but Kalisha needs some love too, and then I need some love, then he needs some love. But once you find your rhythm, because we're still kind of finding our rhythm here in Dallas, you know, uprooting our whole life and uprooting my business was a strain in itself, like for me mentally. But he's really good with change, so he helps balance me out, you know, because I'm super easy to be stressed and he's like super chill. So it balances itself out, especially when times are hard with business. You know, he's literally like my best friend / business partner. You know, he's been there every step of the way. So we honestly just have to make a conscious decision to spend time with each other, just as husband and wife, and then a lot of time for business.
Girl, thank you for all of these nuggets, okay? Because we all out here trying to be the Jay-Z's and the Beyonce, and we just
Girl.
like, how we going to do it, though? How?
Right. No,
And I
I'm
was
like, if
talking
Thea J can run all these businesses, so can we. We just got to get our rhythm.
Exactly. And I remember I was talking to my homeboy, and he was just like, you know, Jasmine, why do people have to get with people just to build whatever? You know, why they can't just be normal? You know, if you're ambitious and another person, what if they just don't want to be ambitious? And I was just like, I thought about that. And then I went to church this Sunday, and the pastor, his name is Dr. Tony Evans. He literally said that you have a design purpose on this earth. And that when you come together with somebody else, y'all are both supposed to be striving and moving to complete that purpose that God has for y'all. So in some efforts, it's just like, yeah, y'all can just, that one person cannot be ambitious, but we all got purposes on this earth. And if you just doing something just for the sake of doing it, in the long run, you're not going to be happy. And that's going to put a strain on your significant other because you're not happy. So I definitely believe that we both gotta be on something or following our dreams and following and doing the things that we love, even if it don't come with money all the time. You know, I think that's what really will bring the happiness. But listen, Kalisha, we appreciate you for all of those nuggets that you have just dropped us today on this marriage game. Okay.
I'm so fresh in the game, but I hope I help somebody out there. I'm still learning myself.
And so now I got two more questions. What are you doing now that you're in Dallas? And where can we see you in the next 5 to 10 years? What are your goals and your visions for K. Rashay?
What am I doing right now? I am re-strategizing K. Rashay, so you will see some new things coming from me in the near future. And where I see myself in the next 5 to 10 years, I really want to be a lifestyle brand, a household name. You can see me in different sectors, not just in garments. I have plans for other things and into getting into stores and just being more accessible to you and coming offline and, you know, doing like these pop-up tours. I really believe in the connection of people, so I do want to bring my clothes to them, and rolling out these in-home trunk shows and bringing my collections to them and just having a good time and networking and building a lifetime of friendships and relationships.
Okay. And my last question, what does walking by faith mean to you?
Walking by faith means to me is still believing even when you can't see the end of the road. And that's the challenge is keeping the faith, keeping hope and stay on him and your eye on the goal, even when things don't look good, even when the road isn't straight and narrow and zigzag and it's up and down, you know, and you just keep the faith and you keep walking and keep moving forward. Don't ever go back. That's what walking by faith means to me.
Okay. And you guys, I always bring a Bible scripture just to tie this episode in. And I thought that Proverbs 31 was definitely a Bible scripture that fit into K. Rashay and how she wants anytime a woman to put on her clothes to know just how beautiful she is and how wonderfully she is made. Proverbs 31. Verse 10, a wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her, and she lacks nothing of value. She brings him good and not harm all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. And you guys, you can definitely just go in and read all of Proverbs 31. It's one of my most favorite scriptures when it comes to like women empowerment and knowing exactly who we are as women. But I want you to understand that when you put on clothes, you got to put on the full armor of who you are before you even add accentuations to yourself. Because if you don't believe you're beautiful, no amount of clothes will. And I know with K. Rashay, every line, it comes from an emotional place. It comes from a very wanting to empower women. It comes from a place of just wanting you to know how powerful you are. And that's why I chose Proverbs 31. And right now, I want to say thank you to Kalisha for being a part of the Walk by Faith show. Fashion is really a small process for the consumer and a huge process for the producer. We really never know what goes on behind the scenes, and we can't wait to watch you grow as you build your luxury brand fashion from the bottom on up, girl. And guess what, y'all? Again, I got to say, she's from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And before we go, Kalisha, where can people find you on social media so that they can keep up with your journey and ask you questions, DM her? If you see her with a different piece that you want, go support her. Where can they find you, Kalisha?
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at K. Rashay, Krashae, on all handles. I mean, the handles are the same on all networks. And thank you, Jasmine, so much for having me. This was so much fun telling my story. I didn't know I had so so much to say.
Yes, girl, you got so much to tell the world. Like, we from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. For you to go from Pine Bluff, go to college, make something of yourself, and then you launch the line in New York City, and then now you're about to do it all over again in Dallas, Texas. Girl, there's a story inside of you. Girl, there is something that is so great you can't even see it right now. But I just got to be the person to help people to see you, make sure that they know you there.
You better speak life.
You doing some things. You doing some things that people got to know about it. That's the number one thing that I find. We are missing so much information, or we pay more attention to maybe Shade Room or like all these different negative websites and stuff that promotes bad and unhealthy things, but we don't even focus on just uplifting each other and like making sure that somebody just like you that came from the same place that I did is making sure she can increase her sales and her business and her propositions and the things she got going. Girl, this is what I like to do, and I'm so glad that I can help you, especially in this journey that you're on. And I know you're going to go places, because if you can do it in New York City, I know you can do it anywhere.
Thank you so much. That was so encouraging. Thank you, Jasmine.
You're welcome. So, again, folks, that's all. Tune in next week for another episode on the Walk by Faith Show, and we're out.
My eyes are used to this race. I'm feeling exposed, but I can't hide no more. I can't hide. As the sun shines on all of my glory, my flaws don't look so bad at all. What was I so afraid